Are Cutie Mark genetic? Today I'll prove that yes and no. We will talk about family heritage, mutations, magical destiny, ponies who are born pink in a gray pony family, and even Twilight inheriting the cutie mark from her uncle who doesn't even appear in the series. Come with me because this video is a revelation after revelation. Hey beautiful people, I'm Julie, and before we dive into this wonderful chaos that cutie marks are, let me tell you something about the real world really quick. Genetics. Okay, calm down, don't close the video. That ain't a biology class, I swear. It's just so we have a head start. So, you know when you're born with the same eye as your mother, the hair from your father, and get the height of a random uncle. That's right, that's genetics in heritage. There are dominant genes and recessive genes, and it's between them we have some surprises. And it doesn't stop there. Sometimes mutations occur, which are random DNA changes, like everyone in the family getting a straight hair and out of nowhere we have a curly-haired baby. But why am I saying all of that? Because the same logic applies to cutie marks, that if they are a biological thing. Now, here's proof that cutie marks aren't just a random image that appears in a pony finds out who their talent is. It's looking at the universe of My Little Pony, and it's quite interesting. Even when a pony's personality changes, when he becomes evil, or we see his counterpart, the cutie mark remains basically the same. What changes is its style. Normally, a darker vibe. Wanna see some examples? So number one is Princess Celestia Daybreaker, that flaming villainous form. Guess what? She still has a sun for her mark, but it has a style that says, I'll destroy everything. And evil Celestia from the Reflections arc, the best arc, won't be taken in any other answers. Also a sun, but with a black center and yellow sun rays. The symbol remains the same, just changing a few things from the design to match the character's version in the said universe. Number two is Princess Luna, same thing as her sister, Nightmare Moon. She still has a moon in her mark. Evil Luna in Reflections, also a crescent moon, but with a more threatening design. Number three, alternative cadence from issue 19 of Friendship is Magic. This one is Chef Kiss of an example. Evil cadence from the universe has the same as cutie mark as the regular cadence, the crystal heart. But here comes the detail that makes all the difference. The heart is broken, which means the theming is there, but the variation reflects the emotional, moral state of the version. Comment down below if you had noticed that. All of that means the cutie mark seems to work as the fundamental identity of the pony and not a mirror of its personality. It has nothing to do with the version of the pony. And here we have cutie mark as something that is inherited, passed from father to son. One of the best examples of that is Twilight's family. Look at that. Her mother, Twilight Velvet, has 3 stars for her cutie mark. Now her dad, Nightlight, bears 2 crescent moons, one bigger than the other, and when you look at their children, you realize that Velvet stars are the dominant gene in the family. Shining Armor, for example, inherited the stars from her mother, which are placed on top of the shield. But here comes another interesting detail. The shield itself has nothing to do with Velvet. That probably means that is such a touch of fate, or Shining's personality / calling in school, he played RPG as a paladin, and as an adult, he became captain of the Royal Guard, so it makes sense for him to win that extra element of his cutie mark. Now, Twilight Sparkle works more like a genetic reinforcement. She has Velvet's 3 stars, but another 3 stars mirrored in the bottom, a symbol that, by the way, represents her and the main 6. And besides that, both her and Shining Armor have that big star in the center. And here you might think, okay, but where did that big big star appears in both siblings came from? And the answer is hidden in a really specific scene in a Canterlot wedding. Shining Armor comments that the sash he wears on the ceremony was his uncle's favorite. And what did the sash have? The same big star that appears in both his and his sister's marks. Which means this star probably came from this mysterious uncle, who must have been Velvet's brother, since their father has nothing to do with stars. And that makes things a lot clearer. Their mother genes, the stars, are dominant because neither of the children inherited the moons from the father. And besides that, we still have a distant relative's inheritances, like their uncle, who was never shown on screen, but left his genetic impression on his nephews. You see how all of this connects? The Cutie Marks follow a logic really similar to real life. Some family tendencies are passed down generation through generation, like dominant elements, recessive traits, that even some things that appears thanks a lot to lost distant uncles. If that makes sense for you guys, leave a like for me to know. Now you must be thinking, okay, but not all of the ponies follow this logic, and you'd be right. In real life genetics, we have some exceptions, and in Equestria this is no different. And we can use genetic mutations to explain that. They are random DNA alterations that appear spontaneously or due to outside factors, such as the parents' age when they were conceived their child. Many common traits such as heterochromia and color blindness came from that. Let's take an example that can be explained by a mutation. Pinkie Pie, the out of the curve of the members of the Pie's family, which is composed by gray ponies who work with rocks. The pink color and her energetic personality can be explained by genetic mutations, or by some distant ancestor who gave her a dormant gene that awakened in Pinkie Pie, as she was already born pink. Her color came from her DNA, not an outsider factor, but her cutie mark was 100% shaped by the environment. Dash's supersonic rainbow made her explode with joy and throw a party, which triggered the cutie mark. So far so good. Comment down below if you're following my line of thought. But not all cutie marks are born just genetics or destiny. Some are strongly shaped by the pony's race or by environment it grows up. And when I say environment, I literally mean it. Climate, the culture, routine, line of work, everything shapes the pony's natural abilities, and sure, that reflects their cutie mark. When I hear a classic example of that, the Pegasus. They are born with a biological predisposition to mess with climate. After all, Pegasus control the clouds, snow, winds, rainbows, everything. So it's not surprised that most of their cutie marks are related to an atmospheric phenomenon. Now look at the unicorns. A lot of them have marks related to spells, magic, stars, mythical objects, because their ambient influences them to be more academic and study a lot. Canterlot culture influences them a lot in that aspect. And what about the earth ponies? They have marks related to soil, harvest, culinary, building, physical strength, because their environment is a farming village, like in the Sweet Apple Acres or Ponyville, which is totally turned to crops and its community. So yes, the race of the pony is the head start and the environment is the final kick. Oh, but Fluttershy is a Pegasus and didn't follow that rule. Yes guys, although her father and her mother have marks to do with winds and clouds, her mother has a cutie mark related to flowers and she has one with butterflies in it, showing that both ponies are the exception of the usual Pegasus marks. And there's a case where genetics simply don't show up. Rarity and Sweetie Belle's parents, Hondo Frank and Cookie Crumbles, have totally different cutie marks. Their mother has 3 cookies, one of them being bitten, and their father has a symbol that reminds a football ball, and neither of their children follow their pattern. Rarity has 3 diamonds and Sweetie Belle has the shield of the Cutie Mark Crusaders. So why is this case genetics seems to fail? That's because here is a case where another factor that outclasses genetics comes into play: the magical destiny of the pony. Let's dive into that, but don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not yet. And the biggest example of that is the absolute chaos that the magical mystery cure is. When Twilight triggers starts will spell, everything goes wrong and the main 6 get their cutie marks mixed up. And well, the disaster explains itself. And look, if that defies what they were born to, it also makes room for another discussion. What if that also determines who was born to govern? Because if there's a pony of which Cutie Mark points to leadership, diplomacy, protection, or magic, wouldn't that be a natural calling to royalty? Comment down below what you think of that. First of all, the royal lineage of Equestria, every princess has a Cutie Mark that resembles stronger forces, bigger than their individual ones. Celestia has the sun, Luna has the moon, Cadence has the crystal love that came directly from Princess Amore, and Twilight has the giant star that represents pure magic plus the connection with the other ponies. It isn't something random, they are universal symbols, and that goes really well with the concept of magical destiny. You were born to do that, even though you don't know it yet. Twilight is the best example of that. Guys, her cutie mark is practically a spoiler of the coronation. The giant center star, the one that came from her uncle, doesn't just represent magical power, it also represents guidance, like a guiding star. And where does that lead Twilight? To be exactly that kind of pony. And you know who else would have that pathway too? Sunset Shimmer. Her cutie mark is also the same one as Celestia, which tells she was meant to do great things, but ended up having too high of an ego that got into the way of her journey. Until she met Twilight at least. Like the video if you're on the team that would like to see Sunset as a princess. And if we look at the bigger picture, we have ponies with marks related to agriculture, climate, art, music, sports, but what about ponies who have cutie marks who represent broad and collective concepts like order, light, love, balance? There are only a few ones. Some really were born with a higher goal, bigger than their own lives. Not because, oh, they're special, but because they have different roles and they're related of taking care of everyone. For me, cutie marks are influenced by 3 layers: genetics, the environment, and magic or fate. Do you agree with me? Let's chat that in the comments. Hasta la vista!